Hey y'all, you have sauntered oh so saucily back on over to the McCripple channel, or perhaps have found it for the first time. Either way, I'm so glad you're here. I am JP McFarland, your resident cripple. First of all, I hope everyone's holidays were merry and bright and happy, and that everyone's 2022 is off to a good start so far. We had one of our presentless Christmases because we couldn't afford any. But we always managed to make it merry, just the two of us. And we did get to spend Christmas Day with my husband's parents, the McParents, which is nice because we never get to do that. And we had our usual uneventful New Year's, where we don't go anywhere or do anything. And although I actually did make black-eyed peas and rice and cornbread for New Year's Day, which was the first time I'd done that in like a decade, so. But we can use all the luck we can get since the last couple or 5 years have just sucked. Well, other than being together. At least we have that. Between my best friend of 30 years' mom passing away the day before Christmas Eve, a month after being diagnosed with pancreatic and liver C-word, I hate that disease, and my husband flushing his wedding ring down the toilet in a freak accident a few days after Christmas, this year has been off to kind of a bummer of a start. Not to mention the world losing Betty White. I'd been saying for years that I was not ready for that. I didn't know her, obviously. I just knew that such a bright light was going to be gone from the world when she got called home, just as a bright light was gone from the world when my best friend's mom was called home. My best friend's mom is one of the greatest people I've ever been blessed to know and have in my life, as is my best friend. I couldn't have gotten through the past 30 years without them both. And we will be able to eventually get my husband a replacement wedding ring from James Avery, one that fits better. But we can never replace dear Reverend Susie, the woman who married us 9 years ago and blessed our rings, who passed away several years ago after a years-long battle with, once again, C-word, just a different kind. I hate that word, that's why I don't say it. See you next Tuesday, I'll say that word all day long, but not the disease. So I've always been worried that one of us would lose one of our rings ever since we lost her. It's just heartbreaking. Anyway, after all that droning on, as you may or probably don't know, depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations are something I have been battling since the age of 17, so for over 19 years now. And said battles have only increased and intensified since my brain injuries 16 years ago. In fact, I have yet to meet a brain aneurysm survivor who doesn't battle depression and anxiety to some extent, whether or not they had it before their injuries. It's one of the things I really want to share with y'all on this channel in the hopes of encouraging others in the midst of those same struggles to keep going and getting stronger. And also to shine a light on the fact that doctors really need to address depression and anxiety more quickly after brain injuries. I was really shocked to learn when researching years ago that it's all too often left unaddressed after strokes or other brain injuries, and that really shouldn't be. It's so common and severe after brain injuries that I really think it should be something that doctors address with survivors and their loved ones more promptly after an injury. So that way they're watching for the signs and it can be treated as soon as any depression or anxiety presents itself. If you're a true crime fan, which I have been for almost 20 years now, I'm so old, you may have heard the heartbreaking story about the man who killed his family, including his beloved young grandson, after suffering a stroke. It had greatly affected his personality and mental state, but no one knew to be on the lookout for those changes and signs. Something like that happening once is too many times, especially considering all the steps left untaken that could have prevented it. It wasn't his family or loved ones' fault. It just serves as a sad warning for why it's so important that depression and anxiety be addressed in the more immediate aftermath after strokes and brain injuries. I'm sadly sure tragedies like that have happened more times than that once, and I can all but guarantee you that many suicides have taken place after strokes and brain injuries. But we'll talk about that in a future video. I'm sure there will be multiple videos on this topic over time as I think of things to share with y'all, or I share specific struggles, or I see something that relates to it. And this video will likely turn into a series of them because there's a lot to cover and a lot to talk about, and it's just so important to me to let all of you know that you're never alone. I'm here with you. And in turn, trying to help y'all gives me another reason to keep going. Although I have to say, I don't want all my videos to be about depression. For the same reason, I've never liked talking to my family and friends about it. Because I don't like bringing other people down. I've tried to change that and be Hi, Miss Kitty. That's Miss Kitty. I've tried to change that and be a little more open about it in the past couple years. And I always want all of you to feel safe and allowed to talk about it. It's very important that you feel you can talk about it. It's very important that you don't suffer in silence. But whenever I talk about it too much, I start feeling like I'm bringing others down or lowering their moods. And I just don't want to be the person who's always talking about their depression. So much fun at parties. So I gotta find other stuff to talk about. And I do already have some ideas and some old blog posts that I think are important that I want to make videos about, so hopefully they might help people. I have one I hope to get started filming really soon, maybe even right after this. And they aren't all about depression, although a couple are. But after that, I'd love to hear if anyone has anything they want me to talk about or make videos about, or if you just have any ideas. And as I've said before, if I ever mention something that you want me to talk more about, just let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about it. So my husband said I should make videos making fun of people on TikTok. Apparently people love that, but please no. I have to deal with enough stupid every time I look in the mirror. Please don't make me have to watch TikTok. And that seems like as good a segue as any, so let me just say, I don't envy anyone who has to grow up in these times. Adults had always said that the preteen and teen years were the hardest, and they're a million times worse now with the advent of social media. I know the social and emotional struggles that I went through in middle school and the mental breakdown that led to me graduating high school early by the end of my junior year and began my lifelong fight with depression and anxiety. It can severely suck. I get it. And I'm still here after 16 years of physical, mental, emotional, and financial struggles, and just over 19 years of dealing with depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideations. And guess what? They all get worse with brain injuries. Oh, yay. So I'm here to beg you, please never give up, y'all. It breaks my heart every time I hear about a young person committing suicide, or any person, young or old, because they couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I understand. I get it. It really sucks sometimes. I've battled suicidal ideations throughout the past year, hell, in recent months even. Sometimes it seems like there's no way out of your situation. No matter what your age, 15, 50, or 105, everyone has their cross to bear, and everyone has their struggle. Many struggles just get bigger and more painful with age. Many don't show up until you're older. Although for some of us, those ailments do come a little younger, but I'm really hoping my videos might be able to save some of you from that fate. But no matter what your struggles are, visible or invisible, and I totally get invisible struggles, they go hand in hand with brain injuries. No one is ever allowed to tell you that your cross isn't as big as theirs, or worthy, or your struggle isn't real. We all suffer and struggle, but it's better to do it together and support each other. You are not alone. I'm with you. Please hang in there. And never be afraid or embarrassed or ashamed to reach out and speak up when you need help. Even I need that reminder sometimes. I suffered for a couple of years in silence before I finally broke down. I think it was September of 2020. So just over a year ago. I broke down to my husband first and told him I needed help. And not long after that, I had a breakdown at my parents' house and begged my mom for help. A year later, after changing meds and talking to psychiatrists again, I still struggle, but at least I have times when it's better instead of it just being a constant, overwhelming darkness. Don't go anywhere, kitty. Okay, good. She's not going anywhere. I'd had nothing but dark dreams for years. I couldn't remember the last time I'd had a dream that wasn't dark, both in the general atmosphere and feel and what the sky and surroundings looked like. They would affect my entire day, casting a dark pall or gloom over the whole day. I got to where I was so hopelessly depressed, I couldn't tell my waking hours from my dreams anymore. It was all dark, whether the sun was up or not. That's when I finally lost it and begged everyone for help. I still have a lot of dark dreams, and if I have a bunch, they can affect my day. But it's much better than it was. They actually upped my dosage a few months ago, and so I'm hoping that helps some more. Sometime last year, I saw a YouTuber who shall remain nameless making fun of a guy who tried to talk about his battle with depression and suicidal ideations. It made me sick. I can't remember the kid's name. I feel like he might have had a connection to the Kardashians, but don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I don't know who anyone is these days. Anyway, he had discussed his battle with another YouTuber with the most humble of channel names. And he talked about how his mother and sister keep him going and keep him from taking his life on his worst days. So this first YouTuber tried to say that he was saying that to be cruel. Like, look at how miserable my life is. I won't kill myself because of you, but you make my life miserable. Hearing that was enraging. As someone who struggles just as he does, and who remembers those I can't leave behind when I have my hardest days and beg God to take me. And I've had a fair few of those days in the past couple of years. That's what keeps you alive. Thinking of those who love you and can't lose you. Thinking of all you still have to live for even when you really don't want to. Far from cruel, it shows those people that you love them more than your own life and wants. A perfect example is that one night before I started dating my husband, I was so done with this world. All I could see was a world of pain, suffering, sadness, and hurt. So I started to write a suicide note. I silently bawled as I wrote it, trying to find the words to explain to all the people who had stood by me, believed in me, and fought for me when I couldn't. Trying to explain that they would all be okay, that this was the best thing. I would be happy with God and reunited with my grandma and my Aussie Boo, my first dog who had just recently passed at the time. I tried to tell them that it would all be okay and that they could move on knowing I was better off with God. But I couldn't. There weren't enough words to express what they mean to me and how much I love them. The words that existed couldn't suffice. Writing that suicide note wound up showing me why I couldn't do that to them. I also knew I could never explain to God why, after saving my life so many times against all odds that said I should have died, why I slapped him in the face by taking my own life. I knew I couldn't face him after letting him down like that. He'd so clearly said, I have more for you to do, and I just couldn't stand to say, no thanks. And having seen so many take their own lives, I know from experience the ones left behind never ever move on or get over it. They're doomed to live with an emptiness in their hearts and lives where you're supposed to be. It never gets better for them, it never gets easier, and you aren't going to escape your troubles and death. I've heard so many say you just take them with you. But writing that note showed me all the people I had to keep living for, even when I felt like they didn't care about me. These days, my husband keeps me here. I can't leave him to fend for himself in this crazy, so often dark world. I know I couldn't live without him. I know the torture it would be for him if I were to take my own life or if something were to happen to me. Telling him he's what keeps me here isn't cruel. In fact, it's a testament to how much I truly love him. Years ago, I Xeroxed a page out of Dean Koontz's Frankenstein. It was one of the later books. I'm not really sure which one. Those are an awesome series of books, by the way, very addictive, and I highly recommend them. Anyway, a character was explaining how much he had loved a woman in his past. It put into words something I've always felt for my husband. He said he loved that woman so much that he wouldn't just die for her, he'd live for her. It's easy enough to die for someone you love, but to live for them through all the pain, strife, heartbreak, bitterness, loss, and suffering in this world, that is true love. That's why that kid I mentioned keeps living for his mom and sister. He truly loves them, enough to live through even the worst emotional suffering. Well, thanks for listening, y'all. If you liked this video and think it could help others or someone you know, if you like, share, and or subscribe, it would really help me to grow this fledgling channel and my audience, and will hopefully increase my chances of reaching the people who I could help. And it would mean the world to me. I really hope you'll come back because the next video should be along really soon. I'm gonna try to pick up the pace now. I hope y'all have a great day or night wherever you are. And remember to please always show kindness and love to others. You never know what they're going through. I love all y'all. Y'all come back. Oh, and I'm gonna leave a music video in the cards here at the end. I've linked it to a previous video, and I'll probably link it to a lot of my videos about depression. This is my anti-depression song, and it's awesome. Give it a listen. I hope it helps you to find your strength as it has for me so many times. Love y'all.